Hello, amazing people in the world! What's going on? Hey, this is your host, Jordan Bridger. Thanks for coming back. You guys are awesome. So, listen, today we're going to explore desire. But listen, go check out my other one on desire. But this one's going to be a little bit more of a psychological deep dive into understanding Neville's first tip. Okay? And to me, this is extremely important when you're trying to manifest, okay? Because people really just try to run past this in Neville's work. And I think it's actually to our own detriment that we don't pay attention to it, okay? And he says this, you have to have a clear desire, okay? And you also have to want to change. So to me, clarity and change aren't different, okay? Clarity is a form of change, and change is a form of clarity, okay? How so? Because when you have a clear desire, okay, when you want something and you feel the lack of it, okay? But then there's it's all preloaded with a whole bunch of fears or childhood beliefs about yourself or about getting that particular desire fulfilled, right? Then that's not a clear desire, okay? So in scripture, the esoteric metaphor for a clear desire is the unblemished lamb, right? The unblemished lamb is, I've got a clear desire. It's a desire without our childhood schema. It's a desire with clarity. This is why I was saying, right, clarity and change are the same. They're not different. So when you hear clarity, hear change. When you hear change, hear clarity. Because when you have them together, you can then begin the process of becoming within, right? And that's what manifestation is, okay? Fundamentally, manifestation is life. We're manifesting, right? Neville says that we're manifesting from a state, which is a body of beliefs, a perceptive lens guided and fueled by a body of beliefs, according to him. And I actually agree with him, right? And so we reinforce those body of beliefs the more and more that we rely on older stories, which, by the way, muddies the mental waters. What does that mean? Well, the more that you accept your triggers, the more that you accept your childhood narrative experience, the more that you accept your trauma, the more that you accept your fear of the boogeyman, whatever it is, right? The more that you accept that, the more that your desire becomes unclear, okay? And that doesn't mean, oh, I want freedom from this, and so that's a clear desire. That's not the same thing. Wanting something and then actually wanting something and believing it's possible 100% fully without having any limiting beliefs, that's very different. Now, can you manifest without limiting beliefs or with limiting beliefs? You can manifest whatever. You're always manifesting no matter what. Because remember, you're manifesting from a state, which means you're manifesting from a body of beliefs and a perceptive lens fused together, okay? And so when those are fused together, you're going to create an experience, and that's your manifestation. That's really what you're doing. And embodying or an experience is really just another name for manifestation. You're creating the experience through repeated behaviors, and you accept them as the only truth possible, right? So again, back to this clarity, okay? Clear desire doesn't mean I want a big house. That's not a clear desire. A clear desire, or the unblemished lamb, is I want a big house. I'm going to fulfill it within by creating an imaginary scene or a series of them, right? And if you know me, it's always got to be more than one scene. And one of those scenes out of the 5 have to be nostalgic. Why? Because you can go through affective fatigue, which is your brain getting tired of feeling and experiencing the same thing over and over and over. You don't want that. Who wants that? Who wakes up and says, I want affective fatigue. Look at this award I got, right? No, nobody wants it. So that's why you don't just rely on one scene or one emotion, right? It's always 3 to 5 of each, okay? And you practice them and you rehearse them and you become them. In here first, then out, okay? So clarity of desire is the unblemished lamb. The unblemished lamb is the clarity of desire. So if it's like, I want a big house, but I believe it's impossible, that's not the unblemished lamb, right? That's not a clear desire. I want to be loved by this person over here, but I always feel rejected. That's not the unblemished lamb. Can you manifest with this? Yes, you can. But this is why most people will either come to me, coaching clients, anybody, and say, oh, so I manifested this person. We had a pretty good relationship for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, 1 month, and then they left, right? So again, you might think it's a success if you have a much longer timed relationship, right? You're like, oh, I definitely successfully manifested this for 10 years, right? And that's not untrue. But then the very fact is that since you didn't deal with the blemished lamb, meaning you didn't deal with some sort of issue, right, that it influenced this. I had somebody tell me recently that, for example, that everything was going fine. They had manifested their special person back, and it was 2 years, and everything went great. And then they had a conversation one day that triggered her memory about something that they had done or said in their relationship within the first year. And then it went from, oh, this was just me trying to deal with a trigger that was in our relationship, to now we're broken up again, right? And so, again, let me emphasize, yes, you can manifest with your triggers. Why? This is why, because some people get really passionate about this, no, you can still manifest, and you can manifest everything you want, and da-da-da-da. Of course you can. But you're going to manifest it in such a way that it's going to be guided by your limiting beliefs, right? And I'm going to go and explain this a little bit more about Neville's concept of the bridge of events, right? Bridge of incidents, right? Which is really just another way of saying your journey to getting your desire, okay? But there's more to it. And it's actually tied up with this as well, because you can actually control your bridge of incidents. You may not be able to control the how, but you can control what the how looks like by how you believe and what you accept is true, okay? So, back to this. Okay, so if your schema, and I know I keep coming back to this, but if you watch me in other videos, I explain what a schema is. It's your map of the world, right? It's your mental map of how things work, and you get that usually from childhood, right? But then it's reinforced throughout your whole, teenage years. I was going to say teenagehood, but that sounds like a place in Los Angeles. So you don't want to do that. You want to essentially be diligent about, okay, so I want a big house. But I believe in what the news said about the housing crisis, right? And then what you do is you end up, again, you blemish the desire. You're like, okay, but I believe it, but I don't believe it, right? And then you tell yourself, I don't believe it. I don't believe it, right? So you try to tell yourself it, but you actually fundamentally are still triggered by what's happening in the world or in the news, okay? So same thing with other people, like, oh my gosh, there's a special person, there's a third person, right? And so then they keep getting triggered. And so they allow the trigger to basically maintain their desire for them, right? So then the trigger becomes the caretaker of your desire. So you think, okay, well, you know what? I'm good. You know what? I've given a different story and everything's great and life is good and it makes sense and blah, 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 blah. And then boom, something happens. That's only showing you what you already believe. Right? Because whatever you experience now is always basically the collective experience of your past beliefs. So that's why you always want to be modifying your beliefs. Neville argues that you should be modifying your belief every second of every day. He does say this, noon, right? He says morning, noon, and night. Not just starting with noon, but morning, noon, and night. Okay? That's not a metaphor. That's not a spiritual metaphor. And in other places, he says he himself in meditation literally will not leave that place until he feels like he's been able to control his mind and his thoughts and emotions, okay? So again, the unblemished lamb, the clarity of desire. People hear Neville say that, and they hear clarity of desire, and they think, oh, that just means I've got to make sure that I want this specific car. That's the surface level of what he's saying. But the actual deep esoteric mystical side of what he's saying is ultimately that you have to come to a place where you are able to deconstruct while you're still manifesting. So there, yes, you can manifest because we're manifesting anyways, right? So yes, deconstruct, get therapy, get healing, whatever it is, while you're dealing with these beliefs, but still manifest because you don't want to repeat. And that's what the difference is between having a clear desire, right? The unblemished lamb versus a muddy desire, okay? And obviously, I want the clear desire for you, for me, for everybody else, okay? So keep in mind that this does mean that you might need to do a little bit of work. Can you manifest stuff within 12 hours, 2 hours, 1 hour? Yes. Can you sustain it? That's the key that we're really, really getting at in this particular video, is you want to maintain it, okay? And you want to sustain it. Right? So if you believe, yeah, I believe I'm a master manifester, but look at everything keeps going this way. Well, then you don't believe it, right? And so this is what we really, really want to deal with. And this is not me trying to be harsh. I don't believe in tough love. I think it's the worst idea ever invented. But what I'm trying to get at with you is, okay, there's two types of desires. There's the one that is always haunted by your past, and there's one that is healed from your past, right? And so these are the ones that Neville is encouraging us to chase after, okay? Yes, you can combine the two and heal, okay? And that's actually also what I'm encouraging you to do as well. So there's part 2 to this, right? Which is, yes, continue manifesting what you want, but also do the active mental work of healing. And how do you do that? Well, you can dominate the subconscious mind with the new state. That's one way of doing it. Or you can deal directly with your triggers. And I'm going to talk about how to do that psychologically in another video. So make sure that you check that one out as well. So hopefully this was helpful. Jump on and share your thoughts. Thank you for all of your support. If you're looking for coaching, get in touch. There is an email on my YouTube bio, but you can also check me out on LinkedIn and Facebook at Jordan Bridger 58. So much love to you guys all. Be safe in the world.